map reduce. We'll be going to see now console. Let's go to services, and EMR comes under analytics, which is here. Plastic map reduce. Okay, so I have two cluster which is like terminated. Make sure guys, while doing a demo to your management, once you're done with your demo, just delete the cluster. Otherwise, you'll be going to pay high cost for unused cluster which is running. So I'm not going to go through all the components over here because VPC subnets, events, and everything, block public access, you can do as part of the security configuration. So if you're not aware of the security networks, please watch my security and network related series that what I have on my channel. That will give you a clear picture how these can be categorized and how these can be configured. So let's click on create cluster. It's a very simple configuration. I'm going to walk through all the steps what is needed as part of the configuration. Cluster name. So let's give this name as EMR cluster, EMR cluster test. I'm going to have logging on, so it will be going to log all the data within this bucket because S3 is basically a cheap resource for us to have all the logging going to that bucket as a storage. Launch mode, we have two launch mode. One is cluster mode, one is step execution. If you see the information step function, EMR will create a cluster, execute the added step and terminate when done. So I'm going with launch cluster mode. Now, here are the releases. So the latest one is EMR 6.1. You can see the beta version or 5. So it started somewhere from 4 and we have till 6. So you can take any of the cluster series, the EMR series over here. For example, let's go with 5.17. Now here we have different options of an application. Core Hadoop, Hadoop 2.8.4 with Gangelia 3.7.2. We have Hive program as well. Then you can go with HBase, Presto, and Spark. So depend upon your requirement, you can select your application. I'm going with Core Hadoop because as part of this practical demo, I'm going to run the Hive program and will show you the data processing, how it basically covers. Now, hardware configuration, you can select the type of instance. I'm going with M5X large. Number of instances would be 3, 1 master and 2 core nodes. The selected instance type adds 32 gigs of GP2 EBS volume by default. So that's a default storage of EBS volume. EC2 key pair is required while doing an SSH to your master node or slave nodes. That totally depends upon your requirement. Permission, you can create your own IAM rules. I'm going with a default, which will give me an EMR role and EC2 instance profile as well. That will give an access to EMR cluster. Click on create cluster. So this will be going to take bit of time to get created. So as you can see, it is in starting mode. So we have to wait for few minutes. It hardly takes like 2 to 5 minutes, between 2 to 5 minutes to make it running this cluster. So let's see what are the options that we have. You can export your AWS CLI commands. Then we have monitoring. You can get your monitoring status from here. Then we have monitoring. You can get your monitoring status from here for the cluster, plus the hardware configuration, its provisioning, the number of cores, the master instance, and all those stuff. If you click on configuration, you can see this in JSON format, events. It will show you all the event type, the severity information, whether it is critical or warning or info. Steps. This is something very important where you will be going to add a step to run your Hive program or any jar program, right? So if you go to summary again, now what are the option we are getting over here? All the information related to the cluster, ID, creation date. Then you can click on connect. It will give you an option to do an SSH or RDP to the cluster. That it. Then you can click on connect. It will give you an option to do an SSH or RDP to the cluster. That depends. The subnet on which it is getting provision, all the security group section and everything for master and slave. So let's try to configure our Hive program. Go to the step section, click on add step. Now, here we have step type, custom jar, streaming program, Hive program, pig program. I'm going to select Hive. Now, you have to give the name of an Hive program. I'll keep this as it is, script S3 location. So there is a document that Amazon has given. You can see that document for just for your demo purpose. Now, the steps are written over here. Here itself. For S3 script, you just copy this location. These are the Hive Cloud Front scripts that what we have. have for the data processing samples. So let's copy that. And instead of region, let's give this as US East 1. I'm in US. Instead of this location, these are the Hive Cloud front scripts that what we have for the data processing samples. So let's copy that. And instead of region, let's give this as US East 1. I'm in US East 1, Virginia. So you have to change that location. Input S3 location. Again, these are the samples. Select that and US East 1. Now, output location will be my S3 bucket because that's where I'll be going to store my outputs. So let's go to S3 console. Now here are like few buckets that I have. I'm going to create something, this one. Okay. So let's take this as my bucket. Okay. it's something, this one. Okay, so let's take this as my bucket. Okay, and within this, do we have any folder? We have a test folder which is already having some sort of data. So let me create one new folder, test2, or let's say EMR. Take this as my bucket. Okay, and within this, do we have any folder? We have a test folder which is already having some sort of data. So let me create one new folder, test2, or let's say EMR, AES 256, save. Let's use the location of bucket EMR. Action on failure, continue, cancel and wait, terminate the cluster. So we have both three options. So I'm going to have continue. It will give me all the details that what we'll be going to have. Click add. One of the following requires me output S3 bucket to be a valid location. Mm, oh, okay. Add. Perfect. So as you can see, add. Mm, oh, okay. Mm, so as you can see, it's still in the starting mode. Until unless it gets into the running mode, it will not be going to run the Hive program. So we have to wait for a few minutes again. The master is getting bootstrapping and the code nodes are basically getting provisioned. So I'm going to have this video pause. Once the cluster gets into the running state, I'm going to resume it back just to show you how the configuration is working. Okay, so cluster is in running state and you can see the Hive program and the setup program has been completed successfully, 58 seconds. Expand this Hive program, we will get all the detail, jar location, main class, and this is an Hive script. And we'll be going to
Lầm. phá giải kim trung cháo tuyết bố sao? Anh chàng này đã vẽ các huyền ảo lên người bạn mình để luyện tập. Sau khi hắn anh chàng đã luyện thành công, khi đi chạm trường giải thích, không ngờ trí thức của anh không hề đọc được vào bản áo của đạo trưởng. Lại còn đi chảo thương, trở về nhà chị dâu bảo anh dùng người giấy để gắn bó. Người giấy giống như đạo trưởng bán tin. Tôi chưa ra là sẽ bị lại thế đỏ. Chàng trai nghĩ mãi mà không giải thích nổi, chị dâu liền ra tay. Cô tôi trưởng nhìn có vẻ yếu đuối không có lực, nhưng vẫn có thể nhẹ nhàng chọc được người giấy. Đây chính là phương pháp làm nghề của chàng. Chàng trai nghe vậy rất ngạc nhiên hỏi muốn học thật sự của chị dâu nói muốn luyện được chiêu võ này thì hai tay phải nên dở con gái. Thế là chàng trai ban ngày thì xử lý con. Chàng trai trong video cũng quá đen đủ rồi. Tối hôm qua trong lúc ngủ, một em bé đáng yêu nào đó đã chui vào tay anh ta. Trong nhà lại không có dụng cụ chuyên dụng để đưa em bé đáng yêu này ra, nên anh ta chỉ đành tìm đến sự giúp đỡ của bác sĩ. Có lẽ do em bé này chui vào hơi sâu, bác sĩ sử dụng cụ hấp lửa bé cũng không đưa nó ra được. Có lẽ còn chưa đã chạm vào được chân của nó. Trong quá trình xử lý, chàng trai đau đến mức mặt cũng nhăn hết lại. Vì để giảm bớt độ đau cho anh ta, bác sĩ chỉ đành đổi sang phương pháp khác. Bác sĩ bỏ dụng cụ trong tay xuống, sau đó lấy ra một lọ thuốc nước nhỏ vài giọt vào tay chàng trai. Trong quá trình nhỏ thuốc, bác sĩ để thuốc nước khẩu